Hey guys, how you doing? It is Thursday and I am really late with this video, but we're going to do War Factory, and actually I've already done War Factory because I already did a War Factory video and I didn't really like it, and it wasn't because there were some screw ups and hilarity ensued. I'll show you those hits, but this is they're all standard layouts. It's not the most exciting War Factory. I tried doing a bunch of different things to spice it up, and it just so happens that I have a few accounts sitting in this task force, and so I shared some of the different things that went on along the way, and I'm going to go over some of those. Found some methods that worked better or worse. Used whatever troops I happen to have on an account, if it's an account without Endless Reserve, for example. This one had tanks loaded up, tanks and Grens, so just approached the base a little bit differently and did the best we could with whatever we had at the moment. So I'll show you the attacks that this account did. This is usually the account that does War Factory because I get it earliest. I started this when I was someplace else. Travel is glorious in any case. So it took 3 hits. That was pretty standard. These are all unboosted. It was either 2 or 3 hits on all of my accounts. Not a War Factory that you could solo without being boosted. So let's see. I'll just get a look at the layout. I think the health on that shield was about 2 million, and the health on the HQ itself was about 540,000. Which we can't see just at this moment. These shield generators, this is actually a great week for barding out shield generators. I mentioned in the video, which I then deleted because honestly I couldn't get excited about that. We do have this artillery tribe, so the cost is very low, and that means that it's much more efficient to bart things out than normal. So what I did on this account, we'll just let this run while I talk, is I decided I was going to come over into this area of the world and use Heavy Zuka, get Bullet to taunt all of this stuff, and then I was going to clear. A lot of clearing on these different attacks. So for that, I didn't really want this rocket shooting at me from the side. I decided I was going to flare, I think this laser or this laser. One of those two. So decided I would kill the rocket and then also, I believe, bart some machine guns here. There was a good bit of barding because barding is cheap right now. That was also standard across most of my accounts. Machine guns are very low health buildings, so it's usually pretty efficient to bart those out, and a little bit of mine clearing at the end. But yeah, the shield generators are definitely low enough in health this week where it would be totally feasible to bart them out and then maybe do a Heavy Zuka hit. The only reason I didn't really want to do that hit is I've done it before, which is also the reason that I didn't want to do the warrior hit, because I've done that too on numerous occasions, hence the need to spice things up. Considered, oh, by the way, there's a little bit of free GBE down here. There's not a ton. You can get like 12, 15 GBE depending on how it shakes out. A bunch of grapplers, they're over here, and you've got all the lasers in the world over here, and then a bunch over here, and these are 3s, and I think these are also 3s, so this stuff over here has really high health. That's going to factor in a second. So here we got the Heavy Zuka Bullet loaded up, and spoiler alert, with all these lasers around, the one thing you really don't want to do is peek on your walk while you're smoking. And guess what we're going to do? We'll speed this up because we've got more to cover. I had a day with it, I'm telling you. Just all kinds of different approaches, none of them involving warriors. Most of them, see, the heavies stepped out of smoke there. I forgot to account for they stepped forward because they don't have long range. And then here, this spread is just atrocious. When I flared this, they just spread all over the world. And so I lost a few troops there before the attack, this part of the attack really even began. And that ended up being costly because, like I said, this stuff is all, these are all high health prototypes, level 3s, and then I missed a shock, or was delayed on a shock with this flamethrower back here, so that toasted a bunch of my girls too. So not that this clearing strategy was bad, didn't execute it all that well. I think I chose a different flare point for the next attack. Pretty sure we take this laser, and hoping that bullet will then taunt all of this stuff. I was committed to that strategy, the heavy Zuka bullet, on this account because, again, it's the principle of the thing here. So I stuck with it. Now, again, with the peeking thing though, because, you know, lasers, lasers, lasers. Note the range on these lasers. We're going to come back to that later also. So maybe, yeah, the spread is a little bit better this time and everything gets taunted. Oh, it was the other laser. And from there, we're just going to clear stuff. Keep taunting. This stuff all being very close together, taunt works really well, and then get away from the things that hurt us, which are the machine guns up here. With the mortars in other attacks, I decided to BART them, but in this case, because I was going to have heavies with me, I wasn't as worried about them, heavies and bullet, so we left them there. And after this, the real problem is only the machine guns, and so I was trying to get the machine guns to focus on things. Medkit, and I was thinking at this point, oh, bullet over here, you will be slightly in range of this grappler. Exhibit A. I didn't think, I mean, everything's dead, that's fine. I didn't think I was going to have enough girls here to finish this off, especially with the grappler picking at us, but ended up that this packet of girls, this group of girls, whatever you want to call it, was out of range. Got a nice little hidey spot back there, and they had I think a minute and a half or so to work, and they ended up being able to take it down. It wasn't pretty by any means, but it worked. So on later attacks, they said the first thing I think I tried was with different accounts. So I shared just the relevant attacks on these other ones, not the full series. So on this one, I probably had already done some hacking. Yeah, and some BARTing. So machine guns are dead over here, rocket launcher is dead, and the flamethrower is dead. Only you usually wouldn't BART a flamethrower, but you wouldn't hack a flamethrower normally, but in this case, I decided it was on the way, and it was a tower that was going to save me some GBE down the line. I'm not going to shock the shock blaster there. I'm just going to reserve my shocks for this cluster of nastiness. And so for this one, I decided to bring Kavan. Was thinking of, this is Kavan and Second Wind, I think, was thinking of the rifles later on. So flare the shock blaster, shock this other stuff, and then start clearing. Proceeding as before. Now, in this case, the mortars... Oh, gotta get that hot pot dead. It hasn't popped up yet. Spent much of my morning playing tag with these lasers on the shocks because of that hot pot. You need to throw one of your shocks in there about as late as possible so that there's time for the hot pot to come unshocked, notice your troops, pop up, and then get reshocked. But until it pops up, you can't kill it. So here, Kavan, just let him die. The mortars ended up wrecking that attack, which is not really all that much of a surprise. Could have had some heavies along with me there, but yeah, you know. Let's see. So that was this one. That was with Kavan. This, I found, was the best approach for today, and I used this on all of my accounts where I was just trying to speed through it and not really mess around, where I just wanted to get it done. We've got critters, we've got Everspark, critters, and all Zuka. Not all that far to walk, but I'm pretty sure we managed to peek anyway at this corner because, yep, it just seems to be happening like that. hot lasers, and there we go. So same approach with the blaster and all that stuff. The critters, in this case, will help the hot pot pop up later. Sparky will release some critters. Oh, I chucked some of my own. Not really worried about it. I just want the hot pot to come up, pop up, get shocked. There you go. Like so, those lasers are just ready to come back online when you get that shock on them. And there was a whole bunch of that, because if you are a little late on the shock with those lasers, man, your day is going to go badly. Now, there's one catch with using Sparky and critters here. This part, it's going to work beautifully. These are all one-hitters. But I said note the range on these lasers before. They do range the HQ. And that means if critters get to the HQ, then the lasers will fire. They'll fire at the critters, which are on the very edge of their range, but of course they shoot well beyond. Their beam extends well beyond the edge of their range, which means it will range your girls, and it will light you up. So here, I decided to kill Everspark a little bit early, intentionally, with an artillery, so that my critters wouldn't be around for this bit. And from here, we're getting picked off by grapplers, but nothing else. So that was a pretty good approach. You just have to keep in mind that later on in the attack, Sparky is going to become a liability with those critters. Now the problem is, well, we'll just get to that point in this attack. So we'll put this in 4 times. This is essentially the same attack as before, but this is with an account about 10, 11 levels lower than before. So all of this clearing, shocking, dancing with the lasers, that's fun. I mean, that does keep it interesting. You gotta give it that. So let's see. We get to around where? Slow this down to 1 times. And start noticing the arts coming in. I just missed Sparky once. I really want her dead. So as I'm getting more artillery, there's another one, but she moved on me. Now she's standing in the middle of girls. That's not ideal either. So I had to wait for some of them to step aside, because I don't want to kill half of my own girls with my own artillery while trying to kill Sparky to keep my girls alive, you see. So that was what, the 3rd shot? When I finally got her, I threw back here and she started moving. I got her over here and she started moving on me again. Not quick enough on the trigger, I guess. Here was the account that had tanks loaded. And the idea with this one is I was going to use tanks later on. Already did some hacking up here. In this case, I hacked boom cannons. And there's a cannon here. And I bartered out this blaster. And I'd also hacked, I think there's a boom cannon up there as well. So here, I really wanted to clear this shoreline because I still have to finish this one, and I'm going to land over here, and I really want my tanks to get to killing this stuff quickly, because the doom cannons are obviously very, very bad for my tanks. The lasers are going to be very bad for my grenadiers, which, I mean, it's unfortunate, but that's what I have loaded. 5 level 3 laser beams with a boost on. I don't know what the damage boost here is, but yeah, that's going to wreck your grens. So I figured I would try to clear as much of this stuff as possible. I'm really just trying to clear the shore, but the problem is lasers, again, shoot their primary target, and the beam extends beyond that. However, if you can get them to lock onto a target, they will stay on that target until it's dead. So in this case, I use bullet for a distraction, and use the grens to get GBE. Actually, I just noticed the grens are probably getting bullet a bit there too, because he's focused on stuff over here. And in this case, just kept these lasers primarily shocked, starting to come into range of these guys back here. But this one's focusing on a tank, this one's focusing on a tank, and not into the bulk of the grens. This attack is pretty boring from here. This is just clearing. I think I've got a couple of these towers left to do at the close of this attack. And I should just be able to waltz up through here and finish this off. But liked that approach, so if you do happen to have grenadiers, you can use bullet in that instance to try to get the lasers away from your grens, because the grens won't survive that. And, oh, finally, so up here, I tried multiple times to kill Sparky and it didn't work. And in this one, that was not necessary. This part, as before, is going to be the same. This part's a little different because I think I actually hacked the wrong tower. I came over here, hacked on the first attack, hacked the flamethrower, and I don't know what I hacked over in here. Must have hacked something, but anyway, ended up having to BART out the rocket launcher for this attack. So it didn't have very much GBE to start out. So we get over here, and keep your eye on Sparky. Yeah, not going to have to worry about killing her on this one because the boom cannon got her. So, and the rest of that is as before. It's like I said, Zuka's Everspark Critter's really good way to approach that this week. If you can do just that little bit of smoking, again, you're probably going to peak. I peaked multiple times. Only died a little bit that first one with the heavy Zuka attack, but yeah, just trying to get a little bit weird and finding things that would be viable but also fun, and quite a bit of that ended up being of interest to me. I hope it's of interest to you. If it is, you can press that like button and all that stuff. But that's War Factory a whole bunch of different ways, because I'll be honest, I've seen all these before and I'm bored with them. Please Supercell if we could have new layouts. Thanks, bye. Catch you guys later.